The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner buzz overhead, casting harsh shadows across the black and white checkered floor that I've mopped so many times I could navigate it blindfolded. My feet ache in the worn sneakers I can't afford to replace yet, and my lower back sends sharp reminders that I'm not 22 anymore, that 8-hour shifts standing and carrying trays take their toll on a 29-year-old body. But I smile anyway. I always smile. Because tips pay for Lucas's school supplies, for the new winter coat he needs, for the tiny apartment in Pilsen that's ours and ours alone. Elena, table 4 needs a refill, Rosie calls from behind the counter, her gravelly voice cutting through the dinner rush noise. She's been good to me, Rosie has. Gave me this job 3 years ago when I showed up with a 5-year-old clinging to my hand and desperation written across my face. I grab the coffee pot, my practiced smile firmly in place, and make my way to table 4. An older couple, probably married 40 years based on the comfortable silence between them. They look up as I approach, and I see kindness in their eyes. The kind of kindness that makes my chest ache because it reminds me what I'm missing, what Lucas is missing. More coffee? I ask, my voice bright despite the exhaustion seeping into my bones. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. They both nod, thanking me as I pour. The man leaves a generous tip when they go, more than the meal cost. I pocket it with gratitude that burns behind my eyes. Every dollar matters when you're one emergency away from losing everything. You need a ride home? She asks, concern creasing her weathered face. I shake my head. The bus is fine. Thank you, Rosie. The truth is, the bus takes 45 minutes and 2 transfers to get from the diner to Mrs. Chen's apartment building where Lucas waits for me. Mrs. Chen, our 72-year-old neighbor, watches him after school for $20 a week, money I can barely afford but cannot do without. She's a blessing I don't deserve, this tiny Chinese woman with her warm apartment that always smells like jasmine tea and her endless patience with an energetic 8-year-old boy. The November wind cuts through my thin jacket as I wait at the bus stop. I should have worn layers, but my only warm coat has a broken zipper, and I haven't had time to get it fixed. I huddle against the shelter, checking my phone. One message from Mrs. Chin, Lucas did homework. We had dumplings. See you soon. My heart swells with love and guilt in equal measure. Dumplings mean Mrs. Chin fed him dinner. Again. I'll need to find a way to pay her back, maybe bring her groceries, though she always refuses. The bus arrives, exhaling diesel fumes and stale air. I climb aboard, swipe my card, and sink into a seat near the back. Through the smudged window, Chicago slides past. Neighborhoods shift from the relative safety of the diner's area to rougher blocks where buildings wear their decay like battle scars. Graffiti blooms on walls. Groups of young men cluster on corners despite the cold. This is the Chicago tourists don't see, the Chicago people like me navigate daily because rent is cheaper here, because we don't have choices. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number, payment overdue. Contact us immediately or face collections. Medical bills. From when Lucas had pneumonia last winter and I had to take him to the emergency room because I couldn't afford the urgent care copay. I delete the message. I'll figure it out. I always do. By the time I reach Mrs. Chen's building, my cheeks are numb from the cold walk from the second bus stop. I climb 3 flights of stairs, my legs protesting, and knock gently on her door. Lucas answers, his face lighting up like I'm the best thing he's seen all day. At 8 years old, he's all gangly limbs and dark curls that refuse to stay combed, his brown eyes exactly like mine. He crashes into me, arms wrapping around my waist. Mom. Mrs. Chen taught me how to fold dumplings, and I read 2 whole chapters to Mrs. Romano today, and she smiled, Mom. She really smiled. I smooth his hair, breathing in the scent of him, little boy's sweat and Mrs. Chen's jasmine soap. That's wonderful, baby. Who's Mrs. Romano? Mrs. Chen appears behind Lucas, her small frame wrapped in a quilted jacket. At the nursing home, she explains, ushering us inside. I volunteer there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today Lucas came with me. The residents loved him. Something in my chest tightens. Mrs. Chen, I can't ask you to take him to a nursing home. That's too much. She waves away my protest with a gnarled hand. The boy needs somewhere to go. The nursing home is warm, safe. The old people are lonely. He reads to them. Everyone benefits. Lucas tugs on my sleeve, his eyes bright with excitement. Mom, Mrs. Romano doesn't talk much, but when I read to her, she listens. Really listens. Mrs. Chen says she has Alzheimer's, that sometimes she doesn't remember things, but today she held my hand while I read. I look down at my son, this beautiful, compassionate soul I somehow created, and feel tears prick my eyes. He should be playing video games or watching cartoons, not spending his afternoons reading to elderly strangers. But we can't afford after-school programs, and Mrs. Chen's apartment is small, and if this makes him happy, if it keeps him safe and occupied. That's very kind of you, sweetheart, I say, my voice thick. Just don't be a bother. He's no bother, Mrs. Chen insists. He's a gift. We gather Lucas's backpack and the containers of leftover dumplings Mrs. Chen insists we take. I try to give her the $20, but she refuses this week. You fed my boy, I protest. Please. Next week, she says firmly. You need winter coat. I see you shivering. The walk to our apartment is short but feels eternal in the cold. Lucas chatters about Mrs. Romano, about the book he's reading to her, something about a boy and a dog and adventure. I half listen, focused on getting us home, on what I can make for breakfast tomorrow, on whether I have enough quarters for the laundromat. Our apartment is on the 4th floor of a building that's seen better decades. The hallway smells like boiled cabbage and mildew. I unlock 3 separate locks, a ritual born of necessity in this neighborhood, and we step into the small space that's ours. 1 bedroom, which Lucas has. I sleep on the pull-out couch in the living room. A galley kitchen with appliances that work most of the time. A bathroom where the hot water is unreliable. But it's clean, because I make sure of that. The walls are painted a cheerful yellow I did myself. Lucas's artwork covers the refrigerator. There are books, so many books from thrift stores and library sales, because I'll sacrifice anything but his education, his love of reading, his chance at a future better than mine. Homework done? I ask, hanging up our jackets. Mrs. Chen checked it, Lucas confirms, flopping onto the couch. Mom, can I go back to the nursing home with her on Thursday? Please. I look at him, this boy who finds joy in reading to elderly strangers, and my heart cracks open with love. If Mrs. Chen doesn't mind, and if you promise to be respectful and helpful. I promise. He bounces once, then settles. Mrs. Romano is really nice, Mom. Even when she doesn't talk, I can tell she's nice. She has kind eyes. I make us grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner, stretching the cheese thin, using the last of the bread. Tomorrow I'll need to shop, which means calculating every dollar, choosing between brand names and generics, between what we need and what we want. After dinner, Lucas showers while I clean the kitchen. Then we curl up on the couch together, him in his dinosaur pajamas, me still in my diner uniform because I'm too tired to change. We read together, taking turns with chapters, his voice steady and confident. He's a good reader, my Lucas. Smart, kind, curious about the world. When I tuck him into his twin bed, he looks up at me with those earnest brown eyes. Mom, do you think Mrs. Romano has family? Mrs. Chen says some of the old people don't get visitors. I don't know, baby, I say, smoothing his curls. Maybe she does, and they're just busy. That's sad, he says, his voice small. Being too busy for your family. I kiss his forehead, breathing in the scent of cheap shampoo and childhood. You're right. It is sad. Sleep now, okay? School tomorrow. Love you, Mom. Love you more. I leave his door cracked, the night light casting a soft glow, and return to the living room. The couch cushions are lumpy under me as I pull out my laptop, the one I bought refurbished 3 years ago that's held together with hope and careful handling. I open my second job, the one I do after Lucas sleeps. Data entry for a company that pays $8 per hour, no benefits, but it's flexible and it's money. My fingers fly across the keyboard, entering numbers, cross-referencing spreadsheets, while exhaustion pulls at me like an undertow. The clock on the wall ticks past 11, past midnight. I have to be up at 5:30 to get Lucas ready for school before my shift at the diner starts at 7. This is my life. This is our life. Paycheck to paycheck, exhausted but grateful, struggling but surviving. I gave up dreams years ago when I discovered I was pregnant with Lucas, when his father made it clear he wanted no part of fatherhood, when I realized I was truly alone. But I gained something more valuable than dreams. I gained purpose. I gained Lucas. I just hope it's enough. I hope I'm enough. Thursday arrives with freezing rain that turns Chicago's streets into mirrors of gray. My shift at the diner is brutal, the weather keeping customers irritable and tips small. By the time 3 o'clock rolls around, my feet are screaming and my back aches so badly I can barely straighten. But Lucas will be at the nursing home with Mrs. Chen, safe and warm, reading to lonely elderly people, and that knowledge carries me through. I don't know yet that everything is about to change. I don't know that at this exact moment, my son is sitting beside a woman whose presence in his life will alter our entire world. I don't know that someone is watching, someone powerful and dangerous, someone whose life is about to collide with ours in ways I can't imagine. All I know is the weight of the coffee pot in my hand, the ache in my feet, the countdown until I can go home and hold my boy. Lucas sits in the activities room of Willowbrook Nursing Home, a massive brick building on the north side that Mrs. Chen describes as fancy but sad. The residents here have money, or their families do, which means the place is clean, well-staffed, and decorated to hide the reality of what it is. A waiting room for death, dressed up in floral wallpaper and crown molding. He doesn't think about it that way, of course. At 8, death is still an abstraction, something that happens to characters in books or very old people you don't know. Mrs. Romano is old, yes, but she's real, her hand warm when she holds his, her eyes sharp even when she doesn't speak. The book he's reading today is The Secret Garden, borrowed from the library. He chose it because Mrs. Chen said Mrs. Romano used to love gardens, that her file mentioned she spent years cultivating roses before the Alzheimer's took her memories. When Mary Lennox was sent to Misselthwaite Manor to live with her uncle, everybody said she was the most disagreeable-looking child ever seen, Lucas reads, his voice clear and steady. His mom taught him to read aloud, to use expression, to bring stories to life. Mrs. Romano sits beside him in her wheelchair, her body small and frail beneath a pink cardigan someone has buttoned wrong. Her white hair is thin, baby fine, pulled back from a face that must have been beautiful once. Her hands, resting in her lap, are spotted with age and twisted slightly with arthritis. But her eyes are blue, startlingly blue, and right now they're fixed on Lucas with an intensity that makes him feel seen. "Do you like gardens, Mrs. Romano?" he asks, pausing in his reading. She doesn't respond with words. She rarely does. But her right hand lifts slightly, trembling, reaching toward him. Lucas sets down the book and takes her hand gently, the way Mrs. Chen taught him. Her skin is papery and cool, her grip surprisingly strong. They sit like that for a moment, boy and elderly woman, connected by touch and the story hanging between them. Then something changes in Mrs. Romano's expression. Her eyes clear, sharp with sudden recognition or emotion, Lucas can't tell which. Her lips move, shaping words that don't quite emerge. "It's okay," Lucas says softly. "You don't have to talk. I can just read." But Mrs. Romano keeps trying, her mouth working, her eyes intense. Finally, barely a whisper, she manages one word, Angelo. Lucas doesn't know what it means. A name, maybe. A place. But he sees tears slip down Mrs. Romano's weathered cheeks, sees her free hand lift to touch his face with trembling fingers. "It's okay," he repeats, his own eyes stinging because he doesn't like seeing her cry. "It's okay, Mrs. Romano." Mrs. Chen appears then, moving quickly for a woman her age, producing tissues, checking Mrs. Romano's vital signs with practiced efficiency. "Oh, Isabella," she murmurs. "Oh, sweet woman. Is the boy reminding you of something?" Isabella Romano's eyes don't leave Lucas's face. Her hand still cups his cheek, her expression a mixture of joy and grief so profound it makes Lucas's chest ache even though he doesn't understand it. What Lucas doesn't see is the man standing in the doorway. Doesn't notice the way this man's face has gone white, the way his hands have curled into fists at his sides, the way his breathing has stopped entirely. Dominic Castillo has come to Willowbrook Nursing Home every Thursday for the past 6 months, ever since his mother's Alzheimer's progressed to the point where keeping her at home with round-the-clock care was no longer feasible. Every Thursday, he sits with her in her private room, talks to her about things she doesn't remember, holds her hand while she stares through him at nothing. She hasn't spoken his name in 8 months. Hasn't recognized him in 10. The doctors say she's lost in her own mind, that the disease has stolen everything that made her Isabella Castillo, beloved mother, devoted grandmother to children who never existed because Dominic never married, never had time for family when building an empire required all his attention. He wasn't supposed to be here today. His schedule had him in meetings across town, dealing with a territory dispute that required his personal attention. But something made him cancel, made him come here instead, some instinct he's learned not to ignore after 43 years of life, 15 of them running the Castillo family's interests in Chicago. And now he stands in the doorway of the activities room, watching his mother touch a strange boy's face with more awareness, more presence than she's shown in almost a year. He watches her whisper Angelo, his father's name, dead 20 years, and sees tears stream down her face. He watches his mother, who doesn't know him anymore, recognize something in this dark-haired boy that brings her back from wherever the disease has taken her. The boy is talking to her softly, gently, with a compassion that seems impossible in someone so young. He's holding her hand like it's precious, like she matters, like she's not just a shell of a person waiting to die. And Dominic feels something crack open in his chest, something he thought he'd sealed off years ago when he accepted that his mother was lost to him, that the woman who raised him with fierce love and fiercer discipline was gone forever. Mrs. Chen notices him first, her body going rigid with recognition. She knows who he is, everyone who works at Willowbrook knows who pays for Isabella Castillo's private room, who ensures she receives the best care money can buy, who visits like clockwork despite the fact that she doesn't recognize him. "Mr. Castillo," she says, her voice careful, respectful. "We didn't expect you today." The boy looks up then, his brown eyes wide and startled. He's maybe 8 or 9, with dark curls that need cutting and clothes that are clean but worn. His sneakers have holes near the toes. His jacket, hung on the back of the chair, is too thin for Chicago's November cold. "Who are you?" the boy asks, his voice lacking fear but full of curiosity. Dominic's voice, when he finds it, is rougher than usual. "I'm her son." The boy's eyes widen further, and something like relief crosses his face. "Oh, good. I was worried she didn't have family. I'm Lucas. I've been reading to her. Is that okay? Is that okay?" As if this child needs permission to do what Dominic can't, to reach his mother in the prison of her mind, to bring her back, even for a moment. It's more than okay, Dominic says, moving into the room. His men, Marco and Tony, shadow him from the hallway, but he waves them back. This moment feels sacred somehow, too fragile for their presence. He approaches slowly, not wanting to startle his mother, not wanting to break whatever spell this child has woven. Isabella's eyes track his movement, and for a breathtaking second, he thinks she might recognize him. But her gaze slides past him, returning to Lucas, her hand still on the boy's cheek. She called you Angelo, Lucas says, looking between them. Is that your name? It was my father's name, Dominic replies, kneeling beside his mother's wheelchair. This close, he can see the clarity in her eyes, so different from the usual foggy confusion. My mother's husband. He died a long time ago. Oh. Lucas processes this with the seriousness of a child trying to understand adult grief. That's sad. But maybe she remembers him when I read to her. Maybe the stories help. Maybe they do, Dominic agrees, his throat tight. He takes his mother's free hand, the one not touching Lucas, and feels her squeeze back. Actually squeeze back, with intention, with recognition of touch if not of person. Mama, he whispers in Italian, the language of their home, of his childhood. Mama, it's Dominic. Your son. Her eyes shift to him, and for a heartbeat, he sees something flicker there. Not recognition exactly, but awareness. Connection. Then it's gone, and she's returning to Lucas, her fingers gentle on his face, her expression tender. She likes you, Dominic says to the boy, managing a smile despite the ache in his chest. Lucas smiles back, unself-conscious and bright. I like her too. She's nice. Even when she doesn't talk, I can tell she's nice. He pauses, then adds, Mrs. Chen says I remind her of someone, but I don't know who. Dominic looks at this boy, really looks at him. Dark curls, brown eyes, olive skin tone that could be Italian or Hispanic or any number of Mediterranean backgrounds. Slight build, but with the promise of height in his long limbs. An open, honest face unmarked by the hardness life tends to carve into people who grow up with nothing. He looks nothing like Angelo Castillo except in the most superficial ways. But there's something else, something in his gentle manner, his unconscious compassion, that echoes the man Dominic's father was before the violence of their world claimed him. How long have you been coming here? Dominic asks. Just since Tuesday, Lucas says. But I'm going to come every Tuesday and Thursday with Mrs. Chen if my mom says it's okay. Mrs. Romano seems lonely. Every Tuesday and Thursday. 2 days a week when Dominic isn't here, when he's handling business, when his mother sits alone or with staff members who care for her body but can't reach her mind. What's your mother's name? The question comes out before Dominic can think better of it, before he can remember that he doesn't need to know, that this is just a kind boy doing a kind thing. Elena, Lucas says proudly. Elena Reyes. She works really hard. 2 jobs. She's the best mom in the world. Elena Reyes. Dominic files the name away automatically, a habit born of years of gathering information, of knowing everything about everyone in his orbit. Mrs. Chen is watching him with knowing eyes, and he sees the moment she makes the decision to intervene. Lucas, sweetheart, why don't you go pick a new book from the library cart? Mrs. Romano might like something different next time. Lucas hesitates, clearly not wanting to leave, but Mrs. Chen's tone brooks no argument. I'll stay with her, she assures him. Go on. Once the boy is out of earshot, Mrs. Chen turns to Dominic, her small frame straightening with surprising authority. You want to know about him? It's not a question, but Dominic nods anyway. His mother works at Rosie's Diner in Pilsen. Good woman, works herself to exhaustion for that boy. No father in the picture. They live in one of the buildings on 26th Street, the ones that should have been condemned years ago. Her eyes hold his. They're barely surviving, Mr. Castillo. But the boy is kind, smart, raised right despite everything. Dominic listens, his mind already working, already calculating. Pilsen is on the edges of territory he controls, buildings and businesses that pay protection, that operate under his family's umbrella whether they know it or not. Why are you telling me this? He asks. Mrs. Chen looks at Isabella, whose eyes have drifted closed, her breathing even and peaceful. Because that boy reached your mother when no one else could. Because you're going to want to repay that kindness. And because I'm old enough to recognize a crossroads when I see one. A crossroads, Dominic repeats, his voice flat. That boy and his mother, they're good people. The kind that get crushed in this city, in this life. Mrs. Chen's eyes bore into his. You can help them or you can walk away. But you can't do both. Dominic's jaw tightens. He's helped people before, made donations, smoothed over problems, but always from a distance, always with layers between his world and theirs. This feels different. This feels dangerous. I'll think about it, he says finally. Mrs. Chen nods, satisfied, and Dominic knows she's heard what he really said. He'll do more than think about it. He's already committed, already invested in a way he doesn't fully understand. Lucas returns with a new book, something about trains, his face eager. Mrs. Romano. Do you want to hear about trains? Isabella's eyes open, finding the boy immediately, and that small smile returns to her face. That awareness, that presence that has eluded her for so long. Dominic stands, his decision made. Lucas, I'm going to be visiting my mother more often. Perhaps on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Would it be all right if I join you sometimes? While you read? The boy's face lights up. Really? That would be great. Then we can both keep her company. So simple. So innocent. This child has no idea who Dominic is, what he does, the blood on his hands, the empire built on fear and loyalty. To Lucas, he's just a son visiting his mother, someone who wants to help, someone safe. The irony isn't lost on Dominic. The most dangerous man in Chicago, and this child trusts him implicitly. What time do you usually come? Dominic asks, pulling out his phone. 3:30, Lucas says. After school. Mrs. Chen picks me up and we come here until my mom gets off work. Dominic makes a note, already rearranging his schedule, already prioritizing this. Marco will think he's lost his mind. His underboss, Vincent, will demand explanations. But for the first time in years, Dominic doesn't care about their opinions. His mother is smiling. Actually smiling, her hand resting on this strange boy's arm while he opens the book about trains. And Dominic realizes with sudden clarity that he would do anything to keep that smile on her face. Anything to preserve these moments of awareness, of connection, of the mother he thought he'd lost forever. Even if it means bringing a single mother and her son into his orbit. Even if it means exposing them to his world. Even if it means risking everything he's built. The choice was made the moment he saw his mother's tears, the moment he heard her whisper his father's name, the moment this boy looked at him with trust in his eyes. He just doesn't know yet what it will cost them all. Section 3, The Recognition. I'm wiping down table 6 when Rosie calls my name, her voice sharp with surprise. Elena, there's someone here to see you. My heart drops immediately. Someone here to see me means trouble. It means a collections agent, or child services following up on a nosy neighbor's complaint, or worse, Lucas's father deciding after 8 years that he wants to be involved. I turn, dishcloth still in hand, and freeze. The man standing by the hostess stand doesn't look like any of those things. He looks like money, like power, like danger wrapped in a custom-tailored suit that probably costs more than 3 months of my rent. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples, sharp features, eyes so dark they're almost black. Late 40s maybe, with the kind of presence that makes everyone in the diner turn to stare. 2 men flank him, also in suits, also radiating controlled threat. Bodyguards, I realize with sinking dread. This man travels with bodyguards. Elena Reyes. His voice is deep, cultured, with the barest hint of an Italian accent. I force myself to move forward, to meet him at the front of the diner rather than make him come to me. Rosie watches with wide eyes, and I can feel the other waitress's stares drilling into my back. That's me, I say, proud that my voice doesn't shake. Can I help you? Up close, he's even more intimidating. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar barely visible along his jawline. But his eyes are what hold me. Not cold, not exactly, but assessing, calculating, seeing too much. My name is Dominic Castillo, he says, and I feel the blood drain from my face. Castillo. Even in Pilsen, even among people who keep their heads down and minds their own business, everyone knows that name. The Castillo family runs half of Chicago's South Side, owns legitimate businesses and not so legitimate ones, commands loyalty and fear in equal measure. And one of them is standing in Rosie's diner, asking for me by name. What do you want? The words come out more forcefully than I intended, terror sharpening into protective fury. If this is about money I'm paying it back. If this is about protection or territory or whatever, I have nothing to do with any of that. I'm just a waitress. I just want to be left alone. Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe, or respect. This isn't about money or territory, Ms. Reyes. This is about your son. My vision tunnels. Every maternal instinct I have screams danger, screams run, screams protect Lucas at all costs. If you've touched him. He's fine, Dominic interrupts, his voice calm but firm. He's at Willowbrook Nursing Home with Mrs. Chin, reading to my mother. I'm here because I wanted to meet the woman raising such a remarkable child. The words don't make sense. I stare at him, trying to process. Your mother. Mrs. Romano is your mother. He nods, and I see it now in his features. The same blue eyes, the same sharp cheekbones, the same elegant bone structure that age and illness have softened in the elderly woman Lucas reads to. I didn't know, I say, my mind racing. Lucas never said, he just said she was lonely, that she liked stories. He wouldn't know, Dominic says. My mother has Alzheimer's. She doesn't recognize me anymore, hasn't for almost a year. But yesterday, when I visited. He pauses, something vulnerable flickering across his expression before he locks it down. She responded to your son. She was present, aware, in a way I haven't seen in months. He gave me my mother back, even if only for moments. I hear the emotion beneath his controlled words, and despite my fear, despite who he is and what he represents, I feel sympathy stir in my chest. I know what it is to love someone, to watch them suffer, to be powerless to help. I'm glad, I say carefully. Lucas loves reading to her. He talks about her all the time. I know. Dominic's eyes hold mine. Which is why I'm here. I'd like to hire you. The words hit me like cold water. What? My mother needs specialized care beyond what the nursing home provides. I want to move her to my home, set up a full medical suite, staff it with the best doctors. But she needs more than medical care. She needs stimulation, engagement, someone to read to her, to talk to her, to help her find those moments of clarity. He takes a step closer, his intensity pinning me in place. Your son has a gift for reaching her. I want him to continue that. And I want you there to supervise, to ensure his well-being, to be part of her care team. I shake my head, backing up instinctively. No. Absolutely not. I'll pay you $5,000 a week. The number steals my breath. $5,000 a week. More money than I've ever dreamed of. Enough to move out of our crumbling apartment, to buy Lucas new clothes, to pay off the medical bills that haunt me, to save for his college, to breathe for the first time in 8 years. Plus full health insurance for you and Lucas, Dominic continues, seeing my hesitation. Plus a housing stipend, since you need to be available during certain hours. Plus educational opportunities for your son, should you choose them. Stop, I say, my voice cracking. Just stop. I don't know what kind of man you are, Mr. Castillo, but I know your reputation. I know the kinds of things people say about your family. And I will not expose my son to that world. Not for any amount of money. Respect flashes in his eyes, genuine and undisguised. I admire your protectiveness. I admire your principles. But consider this, Ms. Reyes, you're already struggling. You work 2 jobs and can barely afford rent. Your son wears shoes with holes in them and a jacket that won't survive winter. What happens when you get sick and can't work? What happens when an emergency comes and you have no savings to cover it? Each word is a knife, because they're true, because I lie awake every night worrying about exactly those scenarios. Your son is already spending time with my mother, he continues, his voice gentler now. This would simply formalize that arrangement, ensure his safety, and provide you both with financial security. He would continue doing what he's already doing, what he clearly loves, but in a better environment, with better resources. At what cost? I demand. What do you really want from us? He's quiet for a moment, and I see him weighing his answer, deciding how much truth to give me. I want my mother to be happy in her final days. I want her to have those moments of clarity, of peace. Your son can give her that. Beyond that. He spreads his hands. Nothing. No obligations beyond caring for her. No involvement in my other business interests. Complete separation between your lives and mine, except where my mother is concerned. I want to believe him. God help me, I want to believe him because the money would change everything, would give Lucas the life he deserves. But my instincts scream that there's no such thing as complete separation with men like him, that accepting his offer means stepping into his world, and once you're in, you can't get out. I need to think about it, I say finally. He nods, reaching into his jacket. I tense, but he just pulls out a business card, thick cream cardstock with embossed lettering. My personal number. Call me when you've decided. But Ms. Reyes. His eyes hold mine. Don't take too long. My mother doesn't have much time, and neither do you. Winter is coming, and that jacket your son wears won't protect him from Chicago's cold. The implied threat isn't to us, but to our circumstances, to the reality of our situation. He's not wrong, and we both know it. He turns to leave, his bodyguards falling into step behind him, and the diner seems to exhale collectively. Rosie hurries over, her face pale. Elena, what the hell was that? Do you know who that man is? I know, I say, staring at the card in my hand. Dominic Castillo. A phone number. Nothing else. And? Rosie prompts. And he offered me a job. Doing what? I look up at her, seeing my own fear reflected in her eyes. Taking care of his mother. And maybe selling my soul in the process. I don't call Dominic Castillo that night. Or the next day. Or the day after that. Instead, I hold his card in my hands at 3 in the morning while Lucas sleeps in the next room, turning it over and over, feeling the weight of the expensive cardstock, the embossed lettering that speaks of wealth I can't comprehend. I imagine what that money could do for us. A safe apartment. Warm winter coats. No more choosing between electricity and groceries. No more lying awake terrified that one emergency will destroy everything I've built. But I also imagine what it could cost. My independence. My son's innocence. Our freedom to walk away when things get dangerous, because men like Dominic Castillo are always dangerous, no matter how reasonable they seem. On Thursday, I pick Lucas up from Mrs. Chen's apartment instead of letting him go to the nursing home. He protests, his face crumpling with disappointment. But Mom, Mrs. Romano will miss me. And Mr. Castillo said he'd be there today. He wants to hear me read the train book. Mr. Castillo. Like he's a friend, a normal person, not someone whose name makes grown men look over their shoulders. We'll find another way for you to help people, I say, hating the tears in his eyes, hating myself for putting them there. Maybe we can volunteer somewhere else. I don't want somewhere else. Lucas's voice rises, frustration and confusion warring in his expression. I like Mrs. Romano. Why can't I see her anymore? Because her son is dangerous. Because accepting his help means accepting his control. Because I'm terrified of what happens when we're not useful anymore. But I can't say any of that to an 8-year-old, so I just hold him while he cries, while he tells me I'm being unfair, while he asks questions I can't answer. That night, after he's finally asleep, fitful and unhappy, my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me press accept. Ms. Reyes. Dominic's voice is quiet, controlled, but I hear the edge beneath it. Lucas didn't come today. My mother waited for him. She was distressed. Guilt hits me like a fish to the stomach. I'm sorry about that, but... She called for him. His voice cuts through my words. She said his name. Lucas. Clear as day. The first word she's spoken unprompted in 3 months, and it was your son's name. I close my eyes, my chest tight. Mr. Castillo. Come to dinner, he says. Tomorrow night. You and Lucas. Let me show you my home, the medical suite I've prepared for my mother, the security measures I have in place. Let me prove to you that I can keep you both safe. And then, if you still want to refuse, I'll respect that decision. I don't think. Please. The single word, raw and unguarded, stops me cold. I'm asking you to have dinner with me. To let me make my case properly. If after that you want nothing to do with me or my family, I'll ensure Lucas can visit my mother at the nursing home under Mrs. Chen's supervision, with no strings attached. But give me one evening. That's all I'm asking. I should say no. Every instinct I have screams to say no, to keep my distance, to protect Lucas from this world. But I hear myself say, what time? Relief floods his voice. 6:30. I'll send a car at 6. We can take the bus. Elena. My name in his mouth sounds different, intimate somehow. Let me send a car. Please. I give him our address, feeling like I'm signing something away with every word. When I hang up, I sit in the darkness of our tiny apartment and wonder if I've just made the biggest mistake of my life. The car that arrives at 6 o'clock on Friday evening is not what I expected. I'd imagined something ostentatious, something that screams money and danger. Instead, it's a modest black sedan with tinted windows, expensive but not flashy. The driver is a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who introduces herself as Maria. Mr. Castillo thought you might be more comfortable with a female driver, she says, opening the back door for us. It's a small thing, but it touches me despite my wariness. He's thinking about my comfort, my fears. Trying to make this easier. Lucas is excited, bouncing in his seat, asking Maria 1,000 questions about the car, about where we're going, about whether he'll get to see Mrs. Romano. She answers patiently, warmly, and I see her genuine smile when she looks at him in the rearview mirror. The drive takes us north, out of Pilsen and into neighborhoods I've only ever seen from bus windows. The buildings get nicer, the streets cleaner, the cars newer. We pass through areas I recognize as expensive, then into areas I recognize as impossibly wealthy. Finally, we turn down a private drive lined with old-growth trees. At the end sits a house that makes me forget to breathe. It's not a house, really. It's a mansion, 3 stories of stone and glass, with manicured grounds and a fountain in the circular drive. Security cameras are discreetly mounted at every angle. A tall iron fence surrounds the entire property. "Holy cow," Lucas whispers, his eyes wide. "Mr. Castillo lives here." Maria parks at the front entrance, where Dominic waits on the steps. He's dressed more casually than at the diner, dark slacks and a charcoal sweater that probably costs more than my monthly salary. But his posture is still formal, controlled, like he's as nervous as I am. "Elena." "Lucas." He descends the steps as we exit the car. "Thank you for coming." Lucas rushes forward without hesitation, his earlier disappointment forgotten in his excitement. "This place is huge. Can I see Mrs. Romano? Is she here? Did you bring her home already?" Dominic's expression softens, genuine affection warming his features. "Not yet. I wanted you and your mother to see her suite first, to make sure everything is appropriate. Come, I'll show you." He leads us inside, and I try not to gape at the entry hall with its marble floors and chandelier that sparkles like captured starlight. Oil paintings line the walls, real art, the kind you see in museums. A grand staircase curves upward, and I glimpse hallways leading to rooms I can't imagine. But Dominic doesn't take us deeper into the house. Instead, he guides us down a corridor to the left, toward what appears to be a separate wing. "I had this section renovated specifically for my mother," he explains, opening a set of double doors. Complete medical suite with 24-hour nursing staff, but designed to feel like a home rather than a hospital. The space beyond steals my breath again, but for different reasons. It's beautiful but warm, a large sitting room with comfortable furniture, soft lighting, and windows overlooking a private garden. Bookshelves line one wall, filled with volumes in English and Italian. A fireplace crackles with genuine warmth. Classical music plays softly from hidden speakers. Through an open doorway, I see a bedroom with a hospital bed disguised to look like a regular bed, medical equipment tucked discreetly into built-in cabinets. Another door leads to what must be a bathroom, and I glimpse marble and accessibility rails. "There's a full kitchen through there," Dominic says, pointing to another door. "Staff quarters for the nurses. A therapy room with equipment for physical and cognitive exercises. Everything she might need." Lucas has already found the bookshelves, pulling out volume after volume with delight. "Look at all these books. Mrs. Romano is going to love it here." I walk slowly through the space, touching things cautiously like they might disappear. The furniture is expensive but chosen for comfort. There are photographs on the walls, black and white images of a younger Isabella with a handsome man who must be Angelo, with a little boy who grows into a teenager who grows into Dominic. Family photos, memories preserved. "The nursing staff will be here around the clock," Dominic says, watching my reaction carefully. "But I hoped you and Lucas could spend time with her daily. Reading, talking, just being present. The doctors say stimulation from familiar, comforting sources is crucial for maintaining whatever cognitive function remains." It's beautiful, I admit, because it is. "But Mr. Castillo." "Dominic," he interrupts gently. "Please. Call me Dominic." The intimacy of using his first name feels dangerous, like crossing a line. But I nod. "Dominic. This is all wonderful, truly. But it doesn't address my concerns about what you do. About the risks." His expression grows serious. Come with me. There's something else I want to show you. He leads us back through the main house, up the grand staircase to the second floor. Lucas chatters about the books he saw, about how excited Mrs. Romano will be, oblivious to the tension crackling between Dominic and me. Dominic opens a door to reveal a suite of rooms that takes my breath away for the third time tonight. A master bedroom with sitting area, a bathroom larger than our entire apartment, and through another door, a second bedroom clearly designed for a child. Race car bed, bookshelf full of age-appropriate books, a desk and chair, toys still in packaging arranged carefully on shelves. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the grounds, with a window seat perfect for reading. This would be yours, Dominic says quietly. Separate entrance, complete privacy. Lucas would have his own room, his own space. You'd have autonomy within these walls. I stare at the rooms, at the life they represent, and feel tears prick my eyes. You prepared this before I'd even decided. I hoped you'd say yes. His voice is honest, vulnerable in a way that surprises me. And I wanted you to see that I'm serious about this arrangement, about keeping you separate from my other interests. Mom, look. Lucas has discovered the toys, his face radiant with joy. Can we really live here? Can we really help take care of Mrs. Romano? I look at my son, at his excitement, at the hope in his eyes. I look at the room that's nicer than anything I could give him in 10 years of working myself to death. I look at Dominic, at the careful way he's watching me, waiting for my decision without pushing, without demanding. And I realize I've already made it. Maybe I made it the moment he said, please, on the phone. Maybe I made it when Lucas cried because he missed Mrs. Romano. Maybe I made it the second Dominic walked into the diner, and some part of me recognized that our lives were about to change irreversibly. I have conditions, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Relief flashes across Dominic's face, quickly controlled. Name them. Lucas comes first. Always. If I think this arrangement is harming him in any way, we leave. No arguments, no negotiations. Agreed. I want a written contract. Salary, benefits, terms of employment, all of it legally documented. My lawyer will have it ready by Monday. And I want to understand exactly what you do, what your business is. No more dancing around it, no more implications. If I'm bringing my son into your orbit, I need to know what that means. Something dark flickers across his expression, and I see him weighing how much truth to give me. Finally, he nods. After dinner. I'll tell you everything. Lucas tugs on my sleeve. Does that mean we can stay? We can help Mrs. Romano. I crouch down to his level, cupping his face in my hands. It means we can try. But baby, this is going to be different from our apartment. There are going to be rules, and grown-up things happening that you won't understand. You have to promise me that if anything ever feels wrong or scary, you'll tell me immediately. His expression turns serious, solemn. I promise, Mom. I kiss his forehead, breathing in his little boy's scent, and stand to face Dominic. When would you want us to start? My mother moves in tomorrow. If you could start Sunday, that would be ideal. He pauses. Move in Saturday if you prefer, get settled, let Lucas explore. Whatever makes you most comfortable. Saturday. 2 days to pack up our entire life, to leave our crumbling apartment, to step into this new world. It feels impossibly fast and yet not fast enough, because our rent is due Monday and I don't have it. Saturday, I agree. But I'm keeping our apartment. Paying the rent. Just in case. I expect him to argue, to tell me it's a waste of money, that I won't need it. Instead, he just nods. Smart. I'll cover the cost as part of your housing stipend. Of course he will. Because he's thought of everything, planned for every contingency, anticipated every need. It should bother me, this level of control, but instead, I feel some of the constant tension in my shoulders ease slightly. Now, Dominic says, his tone lightening, shall we have dinner? I promise the food is better than the conversation has been so far. Lucas grabs my hand and Dominic's, swinging between us as we head back downstairs. Can I have dessert? Mom never lets me have dessert on weekdays. Mom's rules still apply, I say firmly, and see Dominic's lips curve in a small smile. Even on special occasions, he asks, and I hear the challenge and the amusement in his tone. Even then. We'll see, he says quietly, meant only for me, and I feel heat bloom in my cheeks because there's a promise in those words that has nothing to do with dessert. Dinner is served in a dining room that's somehow both grand and intimate, a long table that could seat 20 but set for just 3 at one end. Crystal and china gleam under soft lighting. A staff member I don't see serves each course silently, professionally, and I try not to feel out of place in my second-hand dress, my bargain shoes. But Dominic talks to Lucas about books, about school, about what he wants to be when he grows up, with genuine interest that makes my son glow. He asks me about growing up in Chicago, about my family, and I find myself telling him things I haven't told anyone. About my parents who died in a car accident when I was 20, leaving me alone. About Lucas's father who I met in community college, who promised forever and disappeared the moment I told him I was pregnant. He doesn't know what he's missing, Dominic says, his eyes on Lucas, who's carefully cutting his chicken with exaggerated concentration. Your son is remarkable. I know, I say softly. He's the best thing I ever did. Something passes between us in that moment, understanding maybe, or recognition of shared values. Whatever it is, it feels significant. After dinner, true to my earlier demand, Dominic sends Lucas with Maria to the library to pick out books to take home. Then he leads me to his study, a masculine room of leather and wood and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. He pours 2 glasses of amber liquid from a crystal decanter, hands me one, and sits across from me, his expression serious. You asked what I do, he says. The full truth is complicated, but I'll try to simplify it. My family has controlled certain territories in Chicago for 3 generations. We run legitimate businesses, restaurants, real estate, shipping companies. But we also provide services that operate in gray areas. Protection, mediation, resource allocation. Protection from what? I ask, sipping the whiskey. It burns, smooth and expensive. From other families who would move into our territory. From gangs who would prey on businesses. From chaos. His eyes hold mine. We maintain order, Elena. Sometimes through negotiation, sometimes through less pleasant means. You mean violence. He doesn't flinch from my directness. When necessary. I won't lie to you about that. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. And the less legitimate businesses. I press, needing to understand fully. We facilitate certain transactions. Move certain goods. Take percentages from certain operations. He sets down his glass. I won't pretend to be something I'm not, Elena. My world is built on power, on control, on the implicit threat of consequences for those who cross us. But I also employ hundreds of people legally, provide for families, keep neighborhoods safe that the police have given up on. I process this, trying to reconcile the man who arranged this beautiful suite for his mother, who spoke so gently to my son, with the criminal he's describing. Why are you telling me all this? Most people in your position would hide it, pretend to be completely legitimate. Because you deserve to know what you're stepping into. And because. He hesitates, and I see vulnerability flash across his face again. Because I find I don't want to hide from you. I want you to see me clearly, fully, and choose to stay anyway. The honesty of it steals my breath. This powerful, dangerous man is asking for my acceptance, my approval, as if my opinion matters, as if I have power over him somehow. I'm not naive enough to think you're a good man, I say carefully. But I don't think you're a monster either. I think you're complicated, morally gray, and probably more dangerous than I can comprehend. Accurate assessment, he agrees, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. But you love your mother. You're kind to my son. You haven't lied to me, even when lies would be easier. I lean forward. So here's what I need from you, Dominic. I need you to promise that Lucas will never see violence, never be exposed to that side of your life. That this arrangement stays exactly what you said, caring for your mother, nothing more. I promise, he says immediately. He'll be protected, kept separate. You both will. And if someone comes for you? If your enemies decide to target the people in your home? His expression hardens, something dangerous and absolute settling into his features. Then they'll learn very quickly why that's a fatal mistake. No one touches what's mine, Olena. No one. What's mine? The possessive pronoun sends a shiver through me that's not entirely fear. There's something primal in his tone, something protective and fierce that speaks to the part of me that's been alone, responsible, terrified for too long. We're not yours, I say, but the words lack conviction. Not yet, he agrees quietly. But you will be. You might not see it now, might not want it. But I've built everything I have by recognizing opportunity when it presents itself. His eyes bore into mine. You and Lucas, you're the best opportunity I've ever been given. The chance to give my mother peace, yes. But also the chance to have something real in my life, something that isn't about power or control or maintaining empire. I'm not a possession, Dominic. I'm a person with my own life, my own choices. I know. He stands, moving around the desk to lean against it, closer to me now. Which is why I'm asking, not taking. Why I'm giving you time to adjust, to decide, to see what this could be. What could be? My heart pounds against my ribs. This. He gestures between us. Whatever's building here. Don't tell me you don't feel it, Olena. I see it in how you watch me, how you respond when I say your name. I should deny it. Should laugh it off, maintain professional distance. But I'm so tired of lying, to myself most of all. It doesn't matter what I feel, I say instead. You're my employer. I'm here for your mother, for my son's welfare. Nothing else. For now, he says, and the promise in his voice makes my skin flush hot. I'm a patient man, Olena. I've waited years for the right moment to make moves in business. I can wait for you. Before I can respond, Maria appears in the doorway with Lucas, his arms full of books, his face bright with happiness. The moment breaks, and Dominic steps back, the dangerous intensity smoothing into pleasant courtesy. Ready to go home? I ask Lucas, standing on shaky legs. Can we come back tomorrow? Lucas asks, looking between us. To help set up Mrs. Romano's room. Dominic looks at me, asking permission with his eyes. I nod, unable to deny Lucas this joy, unable to deny myself more time to understand this man and what he wants from us. We'd be honored, Dominic says to Lucas. How about 10 in the morning? We can have breakfast, then work on making everything perfect for her. Maria drives us home through the dark Chicago streets, Lucas chattering about the house, the library, the dinner. He falls asleep against my shoulder, exhausted and happy, and I hold him close, breathing in his scent, reminding myself why I'm doing this. For him. Always for him. But as we pull up to our shabby apartment building, as I carry Lucas up the stairs and tuck him into his narrow bed one of the last times, I let myself admit the truth. Part of me is doing this for myself too. For the way Dominic looks at me like I matter, like I'm precious. For the life he's offering that I never dreamed possible. For the dangerous, impossible hope that maybe, just maybe, this could be real. Saturday passes in a blur of packing, of saying goodbye to Mrs. Chin who cries and hugs us both, of loading our few possessions into Maria's car. Our apartment looks smaller, sadder, emptier without our things, and I feel a pang of grief for the life I'm leaving even though it was hard, even though it was barely surviving. Sunday morning, we arrive at Dominic's estate at 9:30. He's waiting for us, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, and somehow the informal clothing makes him more intimidating, not less. I see the breadth of his shoulders, the strength in his frame, the barely leashed power in how he moves. Elena. His voice is warm, welcoming. Lucas. Let me show you to your rooms properly. He helps carry our boxes, dismissing staff members who try to assist, insisting on doing it himself. In our new suite, he sets things down carefully, gives us privacy to unpack and settle. It's such a small thing, such a human gesture, but it touches me. Lucas tears through his new room with delight, organizing his books, arranging his few toys among the many new ones. I unpack more slowly, hanging clothes in a closet bigger than my old bedroom, placing toiletries in a bathroom that feels like a spa. At 10, Isabella arrives. The medical transport pulls up the circular drive, and I watch from a window as Dominic oversees her transfer with intense focus, speaking in rapid Italian to the nurses, to the doctor, ensuring every detail is perfect. She's wheeled into her new suite in a specialized chair, her white hair gleaming in the sunlight streaming through the windows. Her blue eyes are vague, distant, but when Lucas rushes forward, calling her name, something shifts in her expression. Mrs. Romano. Look at your new home. It's beautiful. I picked out books for us to read. Do you want to see? Isabella's hand lifts, trembling, reaching for Lucas. He takes it without hesitation, and I see Dominic's face transform, grief and joy and something like awe mixing in his expression. Angelo, Isabella whispers, her eyes on Lucas. Mio Angelo. No, Mrs. Romano, I'm Lucas. But I'll read to you, just like always. But she keeps staring at him, tears sliding down her papery cheeks, her grip on his hand surprisingly strong. And I understand then why Dominic was so desperate to have Lucas here. It's not just that he reaches her, helps her find moments of clarity. It's that somehow, in some way none of us understand, Lucas gives her back her husband. Lets her see the man she loved, dead 20 years, alive again in a child's face. She thinks he's your father, I whisper to Dominic, standing close enough that only he can hear. I know, he says, his voice rough with emotion. The doctors say it's not uncommon for Alzheimer's patients to see people they've lost in others. But knowing that doesn't make it less. He trails off, unable to finish. Painful, I supply. And beautiful. He looks at me then, really looks at me, and I see everything he's feeling written across his face. This man who controls an empire, who commands fear and respect, is undone by his mother's confusion and a little boy's kindness. Without thinking, I reach out and take his hand, squeezing gently. He grips back, his fingers warm and strong around mine, and we stand there watching Lucas read to Isabella, watching her smile and nod and occasionally whisper words that might be responses or might be memories. The moment feels sacred, perfect, frozen in amber. I think maybe everything will be okay, maybe we can do this, maybe we can find happiness in this strange arrangement. Then I hear shouting from outside, angry voices, the squeal of tires. Dominic's entire body goes rigid, his hand tightening painfully on mine. Get Lucas, he orders, his voice transformed into something cold and commanding. Now. Take them both to the panic room, Maria knows where. Don't come out until I get you. What's happening? I ask, fear spiking through me. But he's already moving, pulling a phone from his pocket, barking orders in Italian. Men appear from nowhere, his security team, I realize, dressed in black, hands moving to concealed weapons. Elena, now! Dominic snaps, and the authority in his voice jolts me into action. I scoop up Lucas, who protests, confused. Mom, what's wrong? What about Mrs. Romano? The nurses will take care of her, I say, my voice shakier than I want it to be. We need to go with Maria. Maria appears at the door, her kind face now hard with urgency. This way, quickly. She leads us through the house at a near run, down a hallway I haven't seen before, to what looks like a blank wall. She presses something, and a section swings open, revealing a small, reinforced room with monitors showing camera feeds of the property. Inside, Maria says. The door locks from within. Don't open it for anyone except Mr. Castillo or myself. What's happening? I demand. Is this about Dominic's business? Are we in danger? Just stay here, Maria says, already turning to leave. You're safe. He'll protect you. The door closes with a heavy thunk. Locks engage with multiple clicks. Lucas clings to me, his eyes wide with fear he's trying to be brave about. Mom, I'm scared. I know, baby. Me too. I hold him close, watching the monitors. On one screen, I see Dominic in the circular drive, flanked by his men, facing 4 vehicles that have pulled up. Men emerge from the cars, a dozen of them, dressed in suits but radiating violence. One steps forward, older, maybe 60, with silver hair and cold eyes even through the grainy camera feed. He's talking, gesturing, and I see Dominic respond, his body language controlled but threatening. Who are those people? Lucas whispers. I don't know, baby. But I'm starting to understand. This is Dominic's world, the one he promised to keep us separate from. The violence, the danger, the consequences of power and territory and control. And we're right in the middle of it. On the screen, the older man points toward the house, says something that makes Dominic's entire body go rigid. Then he gestures to his men, and they start to advance. Dominic makes a sharp hand gesture. His security team moves, weapons appearing, a human wall between the approaching men and the house. I turn Lucas away from the screens, holding his face against my shoulder. Don't look, baby. Don't look. But I keep watching, my heart in my throat, as the situation outside escalates, as the 2 groups face off, as I realize with sinking dread that accepting Dominic's offer didn't protect us from his world. It brought us directly into the line of fire. She was presumed dead. He slides the ring onto my finger, then stands and kisses me properly, deeply, with all the promise of everything we're building together. Behind us, I hear Lucas cheer, and we break apart to find him and Isabella watching us, both of them smiling. Is Dominic going to be my dad now? Lucas asks, hope bright in his eyes. If you want me to be, Dominic says, crouching down to Lucas's level again. I know I'm not your birth father, and I'll never try to replace him. But I love your mother, and I love you, and I would be honored to be your dad. Lucas considers this with the seriousness he brings to important matters. Will you teach me Italian? And how to make pasta? And will you read books with me sometimes? Every day if you want, Dominic promises. Then yes, Lucas decides. You can be my dad. Isabella makes a sound, something between a laugh and a sob, her lucid eyes bright with tears. Angelo, she says, and for once, we're not sure if she means her husband or her great-grandson or the legacy that connects them all. Angelo would be so proud. Dominic takes her hand, then reaches for mine, creating a circle, him, me, Lucas, Isabella. 4 people who found each other through strange circumstances, through tragedy and disease and complicated family history, but who've chosen to become something new. A family. Imperfect, unconventional, built on foundations that include both legitimate love and illegitimate empire. But real nonetheless. 6 months after that, we marry in Isabella's garden on a perfect autumn day. She's in her wheelchair, weaker now but still present, still aware enough to cry happy tears as I walk down the aisle of flower petals toward her son. Lucas stands beside Dominic as best man, his new suit perfect, his smile radiant. Maria cries in the front row. The guest list is small, just family, both blood and chosen, because this isn't about showing off or proving anything. It's about us, about commitment, about building something lasting. When Dominic slides the wedding band onto my finger beside his grandmother's engagement ring, I think about the journey that brought us here. A phone call in Italian, answered in front of the wrong man at the right time. A little boy reading to a lonely woman, not knowing he was reaching across generations, healing wounds, connecting bloodlines thought broken. I love you, Dominic whispers as we're pronounced husband and wife. Both of you. Always. We love you too, I whisper back, and see Lucas nodding, confirming it. The reception is small but beautiful. We eat and dance and celebrate under strings of lights in the garden. Isabella holds Lucas's hand, calling him by his name, telling him stories about his great-grandfather Angelo, about the man he resembles not just in appearance but in kindness. Later, after the guests have gone, after Isabella has been settled into bed by her nurses, after Lucas has finally fallen asleep in his room exhausted but happy, Dominic and I stand on the terrace overlooking the city. Do you ever regret it? He asks. Saying yes to all this. I think about our small apartment in Pilsen, about the life I was living, constant struggle, constant fear, constant exhaustion. I think about what I've gained, security, yes, but also love, partnership, the feeling of being seen and valued and protected. Never, I say honestly. It's not what I expected, and it's not what I would have chosen if you'd described it to me a year ago. But it's real, and it's ours, and it's enough. More than enough, he agrees, pulling me close. It's everything. And as we stand there in the darkness, Chicago spread below us like a carpet of lights, I realize he's right. This strange, complicated, unconventional family we've built, it's everything I never knew I needed. Lucas, safe and loved and growing up with opportunities one could never have given him alone. Isabella, spending her final time surrounded by family, experiencing moments of joy and clarity. Dominic, no longer isolated by power, learning to balance empire with family. And me, no longer alone, no longer struggling, no longer just surviving but actually living. It started with a boy reading to an old woman. It grew into something none of us could have predicted. And it became a family bound not just by blood or necessity, but by choice, by love, by the decision to face whatever comes next together. The Castillo Empire will continue. Dominic's business will remain complicated, morally gray, sometimes dangerous. David will eventually reach out, wanting to know his son, and will have to navigate that carefully. The world we live in will never be simple or safe. But we'll face it together. Husband and wife. Father and son. Family. And that, I've learned, is everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now, I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.